Good morning, MegaPodlings. It's Crazy Joe. How's everybody doing? It's Tuesday. It's time to get crazy after dark. I am joined by Mr. Super Chat Hippo and a ton of Christmas ornaments that haven't been put away yet. If you saw my last video, you know why. Who's here today? We got Backquin. Backquin says, "Hey Joe, wanted to send my condolences to your family." Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. It has been a horrible week in a horrible year, 2020, the year that never stops giving grief. That is, lots and lots of grief. And Punk Nerds here, Bobby Bolin, James Borland. Hey, Crazy Joe, ever heard of the sitcom The Torkelsons? I do remember the sitcom The Torkelsons, and if I remember correctly, they changed the title for season 2. It was one of those shows that they revamped the show, and when it came back for the second season, it had a new title. And I think they wrote out several of the kids, because originally it was a family of like 8, right? And then I think they were like, we got to retool this show. They don't have 8 kids anymore. Now they got like 5. I don't remember, something like that. But I never really watched the show. But I never forgot the name, because Torkelson is the real last name of Peter Tork of the Monkees. So whenever I heard the name the Torkelsons, I always thought of Peter Tork. Connor McGregor's here. Happy to have you back. Thank you, Connor. Geriatric Geek's here. Hello, Geriatric Geek. Good to see you. Josh Lord, Joey Baseball, Punk Nerd. A lot of people here. Thank you, everyone. James says, nice Toy Story t-shirt. I love the original 3 movies, but I'm not going to see the 4th one. Oh, I would recommend seeing the 4th one. It's my favorite of the 4. I think it's absolutely the best, and it provides really good closure to the series. But I do love the original 3. I think 3 and 4 are my 2 favorites. The 4 is probably my favorite of the 4. So I wouldn't recommend it. I couldn't recommend it enough, quite frankly. Jesse says, "Hey Joe, good to see you back." Thank you, Jesse. Like I said, it was a very difficult week in a year from hell, which was the name of a Star Trek episode, Year from Hell. A Star Trek episode that a lot of people think is one of the best episodes of Voyager, and I don't like it. But that's another story. That's another story. Backwood says, today marks the 20th anniversary of the first X-Men movie. Gave it a watch today. Still a good movie. Yeah, you know, Backwood, the X-Men franchise under Fox is one of the weirdest franchises of all times, because they made more good movies than bad movies. Like, if you count the number of movies they made, there's more in the good column than the bad column. Yet for some reason, people have this strange revisionist history memory where they just they think they're bad movies, and people are like, the X-Men. I remember it was like First Class was about to come out. First Class hadn't come out yet. And granted, the last 2 movies in the series hadn't been very good. The last 2 movies were X-Men 3 and Wolverine. And they were both very poorly received. So people were like, X-Men First Class is going to suck. This is going to be garbage. I remember this is what people were saying back in 2011 before the movie opened. I'm not interested in that. They lost me. Well, then the movie came out, and it was great. And people were like, oh, wow, X-Men First Class. That was really, really good. Okay, all right, that was good. Then Days of Future Past was about to come out. I'm not going to go see that. That's garbage. These X-Men movies, they stink, blah, 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 blah. And I remember I was like, well, you guys were saying that before, and then you're forgetting First Class was good. You're forgetting? And then Days of Future Past came out, and everybody was like, oh, that was pretty good. We were wrong, blah, blah, blah. It was a good movie. Wolverine 2 was going to come out. But, Wolverine sucked. I'm not going to go see. It's a different screenwriter. It's a different director. It's not the same people that made Wolverine 1. People went and saw it. Like, it was good. So if you count them up, I mean, X-Men 3, Wolverine, X-Men Apocalypse, and Dark Phoenix. Those 4 movies, those are the ones people tend to pile on. Personally, I think Apocalypse and especially Dark Phoenix. Dark Phoenix, I think, is very good. I don't think they deserve the hate they get. I like both Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. Dark Phoenix, I really like. But that's my opinion. My opinion varies from other people. But those are the four. When people talk about the bad X-Men movies, those are the four they talk about. X-Men 3, Wolverine, the first Wolverine, and Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. But now you look at the good ones. You've got X-Men, X-Men 2, Days of Future Past, Wolverine 2, Logan, Deadpool, Deadpool 2. So the Fox X-Men universe made 7 movies that people agree are terrific. People like those 7 movies. They made 4 that people don't like. So if you're doing the scales, the Fox X-Men movies are very good franchise. And unfortunately, people don't give it the respect it deserves. So I would like to see those movies get more respect. Hopefully they will, now that they're starting to drop on Disney+. Days of Future Past premiered on Disney+ this past weekend. And that would be great. I'd love to see that happen. Backwin says the first one is extremely cheesy in places, especially Storm's terrible one-liner. CGI looks bad in some places, but it's still such a good movie. It's a cheap movie. It's a cheap movie. It's a movie that they didn't know if they had a hit on their hands, so they kept the budget low. Very few characters. They only had a couple X-Men, a couple villains. They really didn't go all out until X-Men 2 when they realized, oh, we got something solid here. But I think especially keeping the budget in mind, what they were working with, I think they did a fantastic job. And here's something interesting. Joss Whedon wrote the script for X-Men. He wrote the script for the X-Men movie that Bryan Singer made, the first one. Whedon has said in the past he wrote the most popular line in the movie and the least popular line in the movie. He wrote, I think he did a rewrite. He didn't write everything, but he said he's responsible for the most popular and the least popular line in the movie. And the most popular being when Cyclops says to Wolverine, how do we know you are who you say you are? And Wolverine goes, you're a dick. And he's like, oh, that's Wolverine. So Whedon takes credit for that, and he also takes credit for the what happens to a toad when it gets hit by lightning. So he always says he wrote the worst and the best line in the movie. I think it's kind of funny that Joss Whedon had a hand in bringing 3, not 1, but 3 of the biggest superhero teams of all time to the screen. The X-Men, the Avengers, and the Justice League. Because he took a pass at the script for X-Men. He wrote and directed Avengers. And then he did the rewrites and ended up doing the final cut direction on Justice League. So that's a record to have there, isn't it? You brought 3 of the biggest superhero teams of all time to the screen in one way or the other. Anthony's here. Anthony says, hey, Joe, tonight I'm here with my daughter, Nikki. Tell her to go to bed. Nikki, gotta go to bed. It's 10 after 9. What the heck? What the heck? It's not playtime anymore. It's bedtime. Guess what? Guess what? There's no reason to stay up. You can get up early tomorrow. There's no school. It's summertime. You know, at school you can get up. Yeah. Go to bed. Go to bed. Let's see. Where were we? Backwin says, I was sad to hear about it as well. I don't know what that's in reference to. Oh, looks like you and Joey were discussing my my little buddy. Yeah, that's very upsetting. But yeah, it is, you know, it's not like it was unexpected. But even then, I wasn't ready for it. Let's see. Noah says, do I have a favorite Mickey Mouse cartoon? I really like the Delayed Date. You know, honestly, I'm more of a Looney Tunes guy. Mickey Mouse, the old cartoons, they were fine, but I don't really have a favorite Mickey Mouse cartoon, I don't think. Though I do like the new Mickey Mouse cartoons that they're doing, like they're all on Disney+. I think they were made for Disney Channel. The ones that kind of use that like retro style, I think they're pretty cool. Let's see. Where are we? I'm sorry. Backwin says, and without X-Men, we wouldn't have the MCU or the Spider-Man movies from the 2000s. That's correct. Yes. Backwin Forever says, oh, when Wolverine called Cyclops a dick, I couldn't agree more because he was such an ass in the film. Backwin Forever says, although Blade deserves some credit alongside X-Men for showing that comic book films can be good. Well, I always say it all goes back to Superman the movie. Superman the movie was the first major superhero movie that showed you can do superheroes, you can take them seriously, you can do them on a big budget. I think Superman the movie is probably the most important superhero movie ever made because it started the reign that we have today. Lisa's here. Lisa says, I like the Hallmark vlog. I actually said, hey, hi, Christine. I really like her glasses. The Muppet ornament is nice. I think Tough Pig said it's Jim's voice, but the 2011 song version. Weird. I did not realize it was the 2011 version of the song. Yeah, Christine had been very shy about appearing in videos. There were reasons. I'm not going to get into them. There was an unsavory character in our chat one day, and he was doing some creepy things. Let's say it right out. He was doing some creepy things, and Christine just didn't want to be a part of it. So I was a little surprised when she said she wanted to do the Hallmark video with me. It's great. I hope she does more. Joey says Joss Whedon also wrote Toy Story. That's right, and Alien 4, Alien Resurrection. Greg is here. Greg's Game Room. Oh, good to see you, Greg. Greg, I mentioned you in the last video I did, the Hallmark Ornaments video. I posed the question, are you picking up this joust ornament? I said, I bet Greg is going to get this joust ornament. So let us know. You getting the joust ornament, Greg? James says, I wouldn't be surprised if the Fox X-Men movies inspired the Marvel Cinematic Universe, mainly the Avengers. Part of the reason I hope Kevin Feige does not reboot the X-Men, I would rather see him find a way, maybe through a multiverse or something, to incorporate the existing Fox movies into the MCU. And part of the reason is because the X-Men were the first superhero cinematic universe that we had on the big screen, and they were kind of the first, and I feel like we should respect that legacy a little, and I think there's ways to do it where you can bring them together. I think it could be done. Joey asks how Jules is doing. Jules, that's a good question. We don't know. We don't know. He's been acting a little weird. He's been acting a little bit weird. So yeah, I don't know. He did not care for Oreo very much, but he's been acting strange. And it could just be that something's different. Something's different in this house. And it's not that he misses Oreo, but it's that he knows there's a difference. And cats don't like change. So that could be what's been making him act a little strange. But it's a heartbreaking time. It really is. Greg says, watching Superman the movie last night. It's a good movie. James says, anybody watch Scott Pilgrim? I've seen Scott Pilgrim. Honestly, I thought it was a little overrated, but it's okay. My good friend Wes is here. Wes from Thinking Arts Entertainment. Good to see you, Wes. How have you been? Are you guys back in the office yet, or are you still working remote? Backwin says, speaking of X-Men, I finally got to watch Days of Future Past on Disney+. It was such a great movie. Yes, Days of Future Past is it's right up there with anything you've seen in the MCU. I mean, it's just really good. It's the best X-Men movie, I think. I mean, an argument can be made for Logan, too. Logan was a really good one. But I think it's the best X-Men movie. And I think it's every bit as good as, like, Avengers or Age of Ultron. It's MCU quality. And I know some people, I don't want to name names, cinema sickness, say it's not as good as an MCU movie, and I think that's pure Disney bias. It's pure Disney bias. You can't watch that movie and tell me it's not as good as an MCU movie. can't. It's great. It's a great movie. Frank Castle says, favorite Mad Max film? Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. That is my favorite. I like Mad Max 2. Steven says, hi Joe, watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off today. One of my favorite movies. But did you spot the flaw mainly to do with Ferris's sister? I did not, but I'm curious to hear what it is. Backwind says, I would love to see a whole X-Men movie focused on many of the characters that never got their chance to shine, like Jubilee, Kitty Pryde, Rogue, Iceman, and so on. That would be great. That would be great. I'd love to see that. Jamel says, how's my day? My day is good. Jamel, how's yours? Anthony says, Superman 78 is still my favorite superhero movie. I love Superman 2, both versions. But I really wish Donner got to complete his vision, including setting up part 3 for Steve Mankiewicz to direct. Yeah, you know, the original plan for Superman 3 was Superman was going to take on Mixius Pitalik. Mixius Pitalik was going to be the villain, and I was going to be Brainiac and Mixius Pitalik. So I would have liked to have seen that. Jesse says, Joe, sorry to hear about Oreo. How old was he? He was 13. 13, he would have been 14 just after Christmas. James says, Logan's my all-time favorite X-Men film. I'm really curious as to what Disney Plus is going to do with Logan. Because they're starting to drop all the X-Men movies on Disney Plus, but then you got Logan, which is rated R. And it would seem weird to have all the X-Men movies except for one on Disney Plus and to put that one movie on Hulu. That would just seem a little odd. I don't know. It'll be I think they should do a PG-13 cut expressly for Disney Plus, and then keep the R-rated cut on Hulu. So it's like we're not hiding the R-rated cut. It's over here, but you know, I don't know. I think that's probably what they should do. Backwood says, I would definitely say Days of Future Past is MCU tier. It's so enjoyable and was very emotional. I agree. What a movie. But at the end of the movie where Mr. Rooney catches Ferris, she opens the door and thanks Mr. Rooney for bringing Ferris home. It's like she suffered. Oh, I missed part of this. The part where Mr. Rooney gets into the house surprises her. She then knocks him unconscious, runs up the stairs, calls the police, and says there's an intruder, not Mr. Rooney. I don't think she realized it was Mr. Rooney. I think she was so quick to scream and kick him that I don't think she even registered that it was Mr. Rooney. But he left his wallet behind. I think it was only after she found his wallet that she realized it was Mr. Rooney. Aha! At least that's what I think. Let's see. Joey Baseball says, if CS has a Disney bias, does that mean Joey Baseball has an anti-Disney bias? Joey Baseball has a say whatever is popular is not good bias. I think you say things for shock value. Conor McGregor says, what are your thoughts on Hamilton? I thought it was overrated personally. I hated it. I thought it was garbage. We did watch it. My review is on Letterboxd. I thought the music was terrible. I thought that it was hard to understand the story because they don't stop rapping. They never stop. Like it's not like a normal musical. Like a normal musical, there'll be dialogue like, how are you today? My day was good. How was your day? My day was good. Did you hear about the bad thing that happened to me? No, tell me about the bad thing that happened to you. And then the spotlight comes on. And they sing, and there's a song, and a dance, and then the song's over, and they go, wow, that was a terrible thing to happen to you. Yeah, I know, right? And they go back to talking. That does not happen in Hamilton. Hamilton, they like rap the whole thing. There's no spoken dialogue in the whole thing. It's just nonstop rap, 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 with a little bit of, they're going to do a little song here, and then rap, 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 rap. And the rap is so fast-paced that they're talking too fast. And you can't get the dialogue. So I'm sitting there going, what? What? Huh? What did he say? What? There were moments where I said to Christine, I'm like, well, why did that happen? Didn't this guy say it? And she goes, no, that's not what he said. He said that. And I'm like, I didn't hear what he said. Yeah, I thought it was garbage. So for me, Hamilton, big load of shit. I give it a thumbs down. That's me. But I'm apparently in the minority because everyone else thinks it's the most brilliant thing ever. Greg says Rooney was all messed up, so he wasn't recognizable. Yeah, there you go. Kyle says, hey Joe, sad day. I had a sad day last Wednesday. My VHS broke of Under Siege 2 Dark Territory. Kyle, I will personally keep an eye out. When I'm going to any thrift stores or anything, though I haven't been to one in a while because of this whole virus thing. But if I'm in a thrift store, I will personally keep an eye out on a new copy, a new VHS of Under Siege 2 for you. Dun, 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 dun. Lisa says, if you like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, watch Reunited Apart with Josh Gad. I haven't seen any of those yet, and I hear they're really good. James says, thoughts on James Cameron's Titanic and Michael Bay's Pearl Harbor. Well, I never saw Titanic. I have no interest in Titanic. I've never seen it. And Pearl Harbor was pretty terrible. I did not like Pearl Harbor, but I didn't see Titanic. James says, long time no see. Hello. Or Sam says that. Sam Haskell's. Good to see you, Sam. Backwind says, I personally thought Hamilton was good, but I can understand why you hate it. I legit had no idea what was happening. Yeah, I didn't. I don't get it. I don't understand the fascination with that movie. Lin-Manuel Miranda must be like hypnotizing people with his teeth or something. I didn't get it. Backwind says, West Side Story is my favorite musical of all time. Greg says, favorite musical then? Grease is mine. Without question, it's Little Shop of Horrors. Little Shop of Horrors is my favorite musical. And if you listen to the last episode of the all-new MegaPodTastic Podcast, number 20 of the all-new MegaPodTastic Podcast, I had Sesame Street's own Martin Robinson as a guest. It's a rerun. I was very sad after the thing with Oreo, and I just didn't have it in me to record a new podcast. But I've been making an effort to get all the old interviews back out on the new feed. So I said, okay, it's time to re-drop the Martin Robinson interview. And Martin Robinson, to those of you who don't know, he performs Mr. Snuffleupagus as well as Telly Monster on Sesame Street. But he designed the Audrey 2 for the original stage version of Little Shop of Horrors in 1983. And he performed the plant again in the 2003 Broadway version. So yes, Little Shop is my favorite musical. Backwind says Hamilton is one of those movies you need subtitles for. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Lisa says, I have no desire to watch Hamilton. Only musicals I venture into are Little Shop of Horrors, and Grease. Punk Nerd says, Kyle. Yeah, here's another good musical, Evil Dead the Musical. Evil Dead the Musical is great. I've seen it multiple times on stage. I saw it once on Broadway. I saw it once, a local production of it, and the traveling touring show with the original star Ryan Ward, who played Ash on the Broadway version. They went city to city, and they came to Philadelphia a few years ago. So I've seen Evil Dead the Musical 3 times, and I'd love to see a movie version of that. They're going to reboot Evil Dead again, another remake of Evil Dead. I would much rather a film version of Evil Dead the Musical starring Ryan Ward as Ash. That's what I would personally like to see. Need some caffeine. Sam says, I haven't been on the stream since March. Where have you been, Sam? You have been gone for a while. Where have you been? I hope not traveling. It's not safe to do that these days. Joey Baseball says his favorite musical is The Lion King. By the way, guys, just a reminder, Super Chat Hippo is here, and he sings beautiful songs for you. And the Trash Unicorn is here as well. Anthony says the original ending of Little Shop is so much better and closer to the original off-Broadway show, though the stage show is much better than the film version overall. I don't know if I'd say much better. The stage show is great, but I mean, it's a great movie. I mean, directed by Frank Oz. It's It's a wonderful movie. But yeah, the director's cut with the original ending is the version to watch. It's really the only version. Now that I have access to the director's cut, I can't see myself ever watching the theatrical cut again. I don't know why anyone would. The director's cut is just such a better ending. James says, did you know that Spider-Man has a Broadway musical? Yes, Turn Off the Dark. Always wanted to see it. Always wanted to see it. Last I heard, it left Broadway, but last I heard it moved to Vegas. I don't know if it's still playing in Vegas, but if it is, I'd love to get to Vegas. Brandon says Avenue Q is a favorite musical of mine. I've never seen Avenue Q, but I've heard good things. Punk Nerd says, can I shout out my upcoming videos? I got a video up either tomorrow or Friday, 19th and 20th. And if tracking is right, I got one on the 20th, 21st, and 25th. There you go. Go check out Punk Nerd's new videos. Absolutely. Sam has been working since March. Well, we're glad to have you back, Sam. Welcome back. Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Steven says, I'm going to be having a Muppet Marathon this weekend. I just got all 10 movies. Just need to buy Kermit's Swamp Years and Letters to Santa. Kermit's Swamp Years should not be hard to come by. It was in Dollar Tree a few years ago, so I'm sure you'll find one for cheap. Fair warning, though, Kermit's Swamp Years is not good. I don't think many Muppet fans think too highly of that one, but not one of the better ones. Not one of the better ones. Connor says, did you want to see Harry Potter and the Cursed Child? I'd like to see it. I'm interested. I'd definitely like to see it. James Borland says, thoughts on the Jurassic World films? Well, I like all the Jurassic Park movies except The Lost World. I hated The Lost World, but I like every other movie in that franchise. I think the best one, without question, the best one is the original Jurassic Park. That is the best. But I think Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is easily the best of the sequels because it's the first one to go to some new territory. Most of them are always, people come to the island. They come to the island. The dinosaurs are loose. They try to get away from the dinosaurs. They finally get away from the island. It's like there's kind of a formula for every Jurassic Park movie. And Fallen Kingdom was the first one to just shake it up and do something wildly different. And I always say it was a haunted house movie. It was a haunted house movie with dinosaurs. I really love that one. We got a super chat from Eric Perry. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Very interesting. I saw what you wrote on one screen, but not the other. I wonder why that is. Let me see. Can I get it here? That's weird. It's blank on one of my screens. But it says, let's hear that hippo sing. Thank you. By the way, did you get the Lunchbox book that Cinema Sickness showed in today's video? I don't know. I don't know if I got the Lunchbox book. He called me to ask me if I wanted the Lunchbox book. And thank you. Thank you very much for the super chat. He called me to ask me if I wanted the Lunchbox book. And I had fallen asleep. Newsflash, ever since things went down with Oreo, I haven't been sleeping well. So it's like one of those things where I find myself up at night, can't sleep, and then I crash during the day. Especially, on the weekends when I'm not working. I just have a tendency to just pass out on the couch or something. And he called me to ask me if I wanted that book, and I was sleeping, and I didn't get the call. So then I called him back when I woke up, and he said, well, we already left. We already left that place, but we might be going back. If we go back, do you want it? I said, yes, if you go back, I want it. And then I never heard from him whether he went back or not. So I may have gotten that book from Cinema Sickness. Then again, I may not. It all depends on if he went back or not. And frankly, I don't know if he did or not. Let's see. Conor McGregor says, "Did you want to see Harry Potter and the Cursed Child play?" Oh yeah, I'm interested. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the same comments now. Anthony says, "Don't get me wrong, I love the Little Shop movie, but the stage show has better versions of songs and great songs that got cut." Absolutely, that is true. That is true. Geriatric Geek says, "Nothing playing here in Vegas for a long time, I'm afraid." Well, that's certainly true. I meant in general, not so much right now. I always like to say, I was only in Vegas once, but I always like to say I lost big in Vegas, because that's where I married my ex-wife. So I always say I lost big in Vegas. Backwin says, "Funny thing, I have some cards from Little Shop of Horrors, but I haven't seen the movie. Interestingly, those cards feature the original ending before it was put onto Blu-ray." Yeah, the original ending was shot. They showed it to a test audience, and apparently the test audience just didn't like the ending. Frank Oz has attributed it to the fact that in a play you can kill off your main characters. And spoiler alert, they all die in the original cut. It's a movie from 1986. Statute of limitations on spoilers is done. The play even older, 1983. So yeah, they all die. And in the 1960s version, which has the same ending, 1960. Don't give me your spoilers. It's been since 1960 that ending's out there. Yeah, they shot the ending where Seymour and Audrey die, and the audiences didn't go for it. They were booing it, and they said, "Well, we got to change this ending." And Frank Oz attested it to the fact that in a play, you can kill off your leads, but they still have to come out and bow. They have to take their bows. So you watch them die on screen, but then they come back to the stage, and you see them again, and they bow, and they take their bows. And so in the mind of a Broadway audience, they're not really dead. They came out and took a bow. Whereas in a movie, they're dead. And therefore, he said, "We got to change this ending." But I like the original ending better. Lisa says, "Did you venture out to the movie since going to see Jaws?" Oh, Lisa, did I ever. Upcoming video. I'll tell you. I went and saw the movie that is the #1 movie in America this week. Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, Empire Strikes Back is the #1 movie in America this week. Connor says, "Did I ever watch the Friday the 13th TV series?" I most certainly did. I own the complete series on DVD. That was a great show. And I'm still convinced that Warehouse 13 was basically an unofficial reboot of Friday the 13th, the series. The shows are too similar. Premise is too similar, and they even both have 13 in the title. I'm telling you, somebody was like, "We got to reboot Friday the 13th, the series," but without paying anyone who owns the Friday the 13th moniker. I know. We'll make it more fantasy than horror, and we'll call it Warehouse 13. But yeah, I'm convinced they are the same. And James says, "Thoughts on Jordan Peele's movies?" They're good. I like Jordan Peele's movies. I like the first one, Get Out. I like Get Out better than Us, but I like them both. And Us was the movie that introduced us to our good friend Maury. We met Maury thanks to Us. Chris Fiore is here. Chris Fiore. And he says, "But the aliens at the wedding were funny." The aliens at the wedding? Oh my gosh, what movie are you talking about, Chris? The aliens at the wedding. I don't know what movie you're talking about, Chris. The alien, not Little Shop of Horrors. What movie had aliens at a wedding? See, now I'm thinking of Star Trek Nemesis when they went to Deanna Troy's wedding, but I don't think that's what you're talking about. Chris, give me a clue here. What movie? Aliens at the wedding. Craig says, "Favorite recent musical, The Greatest Showman." Oh yeah, that's a good one. My kids are obsessed with The Greatest Showman. Kira knows all the words. She'll sing A Million Dreams. Oh, Geriatric Geek just pointed out my brother was talking about my wedding. My wedding in Vegas. Yes. Yes. I got married on the Starship Enterprise at the Star Trek Experience, which doesn't exist anymore in Vegas. And there was a Ferengi at my wedding. There were 2 Ferengi at my wedding. One of the Ferengi tried to steal all the wedding presents. So yeah, you're right, Chris. The aliens at the wedding were hilarious. I thought we were talking about a movie. I'm sorry. I forgot we were talking about a part of my life I try to forget. But like I always say, it was one hell of a great wedding. It was a great wedding, a terrible marriage, but a great wedding. It's all right. I got the good wife now, so. Captain Christopher Pike is here. Captain Chris Pike 920 says, "Hey Joe, I don't know if you saw my Instagram post a few days ago, but I went to Water Tower Cinema to see Star Wars Empire Strikes Back for the first time on the big screen. Thanks for the recommendation." I did not see that, Chris. I did not realize you were so local. But yeah, Water Tower Cinema. Now, Chris, I got to ask you a question. 2 things. Number 1. What screen were they showing it on? I saw it. It was in Theater 1 when I saw it. Do you remember what theater you were in? At what screen was it on? And how crowded was the theater? Let me know. I'm really curious. And there's a reason I ask. Like there's a method to my madness. But I was really confused because I saw it last night. I went to Water Tower Cinema last night and saw The Empire Strikes Back. And I knew walking in the door that it was going to be more crowded than Jaws was. Because Jaws, there was nobody in Jaws. And I'm like, well, this is Star Wars. It's the most popular Star Wars movie. It's the most popular Star Wars movie on its 40th anniversary. This is going to get a bigger crowd than Jaws. And I was a little surprised that they put it in their smallest auditorium. So I'm curious as to what auditorium it was playing in when you saw it and how crowded it was. Backwin says, "I really hope Freddy's Nightmares gets a complete series release." Yes, I keep saying that Mill Creek should put that out. Because Mill Creek keeps their prices low. And there were only 2 seasons. So I think you could put like 44 episodes of Freddy's Nightmares on DVD. Sell them for like $20 or something. You keep because Mill Creek's always cheap with their prices. And you sell it at like Spirit Halloween Adventure, those Halloween costume stores, up on the front rack, like where people buy those like cheesy music, the cheesy music of like famous horror movie theme songs and stuff done by not the original artists. And they always have them at the counter, like as an impulse buy. You stick it there and make it like $20. People will buy them, especially around Halloween time. Geriatrics. Oh, I'm rereading things. Anthony again says he's talking about your first wedding. Yes. Angie says, "Maury." By the way, I gotta tell you, Adam the Woo changed the way we say the word Maury. Because when we saw it in the movies, the guy had a very deep voice. It was, "Hey, Maury! Hey, Maury!" But then at Dragon Con, Adam the Woo starts doing it. And you can find it on my Dragon Con shenanigans video. And he starts going, "Hey, Maury! Hey, Maury!" And he made it sound like some like weird old man. But now that's the cadence. Whenever we say Maury, we say it in that cadence. It's totally like Adam changed the cadence on that because it was originally a very, very deep voice. "Hey, Maury, Maury." And then it turned into Maury. James says, "Did you know that Frank Oz directed the What About Bob?" Yes, and it's a tremendous movie. I love What About Bob. James Borland says, "Thoughts on the Slender Man movie? I hated it. I did not see it." Now, Chris Pike says, Empire was in Auditorium 1 and 7 when he went on Saturday. Theater 1 and 7 people in total. Theater 1 and 7 people in total. Okay. Now, I love Water Tower Cinema. I absolutely love Water Tower Cinema. But I think they made a mistake here. Because Empire Strikes Back is extremely popular. It's a very popular movie. As soon as I heard Empire Strikes Back, I said, oh, it's going to have more people than the last movie I saw there. So they put it in their smallest house. Now, we're trying to do social distancing. Obviously, we're all trying to do social distancing. So you don't want to be sitting too close to strangers. Well, the way they do the seats, they have to, take out every other row to keep people apart. So if you buy a ticket, the row in front of you and the row in back of you, no one else can sit in those seats. Whatever seats you chose, the row in front of you and the row in back of you are blacked out. And then you can't get people sitting within 2 seats on either side of you. Well, I felt like, we were spaced out the proper amount, we were 6 feet apart, but I still felt a little too close for comfort in that theater because enough people went to the theater. There was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There was about 10 people in the theater. And the way it was, we were close enough that I was not entirely, I was like, no, we got the right amount of space. We're over 6 feet, it's good. But when I saw Jaws, everybody was on opposite ends. It was in the biggest house, Theater 7. We were on opposite ends. Nobody was near each other. Nobody was close to each other. And I'm like, this is great. This is great. And I think if you took that same 10 people that went to see Empire last night in Theater 1 and put them in Theater 7, we all would have been very, very, very comfortably spaced. So out of curiosity, I went over to Theater 7 after the movie. I was like, well, what was Theater 7 showing? Theater 7 was still showing Jaws. That's where I saw Jaws last week. So a week later, they still had Jaws in the biggest theater. Now, right off the bat, I'm thinking, this movie's now in its second week. I don't think this movie's going to draw as big a crowd this week as it did last week, because people are going to see the new movies you just added, like the Goonies and Empire Strikes Back. Well, I walked in the theater, because Jaws was still playing, to see how many people were in the Jaws theater, and the answer is 0. There was nobody in the theater watching Jaws. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, you've got Jaws in one of the largest auditoriums playing to nobody, whereas 10 of us were in the smallest auditorium watching Empire. I'm like, they should change the screens. They should totally change the screens. They should see which movies are selling the most tickets and alter it so that the ones that are getting the most tickets sold are in the bigger auditoriums so people could space themselves better. My only complaint, but yeah, again, they were following all the proper rules. It's not like people were on top of each other. We weren't properly spaced. I just would have liked to have been a little more. That's my own paranoia. Keep in mind also, we are in a county where the numbers are great. I know numbers are spiking in Florida, spiking in California. The virus is doing just awful things in other parts of the country. And we're very fortunate that at this moment in time, and I check the numbers every day, because if I go out to a movie or something, what the numbers that day tell me is going to play a role in my decision. If I see that suddenly we skyrocketed, I'm probably going to stay home. So make no mistake about it. The way it was set up, the way the spacing was done, the numbers in our county, everything, it was done properly. It's not like they were doing anything wrong, but I just would have felt a little bit more comfortable if we were in the biggest auditorium. But anyway. Jesse S. is Back to the Future going to play at your cinema. Unfortunately, it's gone. It was there last week, and they've already got rid of it, which is a shame because I wanted to get to Back to the Future as well. I didn't realize it was going to be gone that fast. Gloop Trekker says, which version of Empire Strikes Back is playing? The 97 Special Edition? Yes. That's the only version they'll release now. I think it was in the contract that Lucas signed with Disney even, that he wants them showing that version. So that's what they show. But you know what? I'm over it. That's the version I've been living with for over 20 years now. We've now had the special edition version longer than we had the originals. So I always was like, let's get the originals back. Let's get the originals back. And I'd still like it. But frankly, I'm done battling. I'm done battling them. You fight the same fight for over 20 years. I'll just watch the damn special editions. They're not that different. Whatever. Steven says that Brahms' The Boy 2 is an awful film. Lisa says Oz watch list. Muppets Take Manhattan, Little Shop, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Oh, Frank Oz watch list. Okay. What about Bob, House Sitter, and Eating in the Cupboard, In and Out, Bowfinger. Bowfinger's a great movie. The Score, The Stepford Wives, Death at a Funeral. Chris says, what are my thoughts on Chris Hemsworth playing Hulk Hogan in a biopic? I'm in. I'm in. Let's see it. Let's do this. I will watch that. And Chris Hemsworth needs a hit. Poor guy can't find a hit where he's not Thor. What's the time? Okay, we got 15 more minutes. I got to do a podcast with Jacob after this. So remember, Super Chat Hippo is here. Super Chat Hippo, he will sing to you. Anyway. James says second favorite 2D. I'm sorry, favorite 2D animated DreamWorks movie. My favorite DreamWorks movies would either be How to Train Your Dragon or Monsters vs. Aliens, and I don't go see the 3D ones at all. I'm not a fan of 3D, so I only see the 2D versions. Lisa says my theater doesn't have any early afternoon show times when I would normally go. Unfortunately, my theater doesn't have any late night show times. And by late night, I mean after 9. Not that 9 is late, but that I usually go after 9. So, unfortunately, I have to go earlier than I would like to go. Chris Pike says, when I looked at the site to choose a film to see, the Goonies was showing in a large theater. And you know what? I think the Goonies would draw a crowd. I'm not surprised by that. I think the Goonies, but they've got Theater 10 is a large one, Theater 9, Theater 8, Theater 7. So they got like 4 big theaters. And then there's that one halfway down the hall, like halfway towards the bathroom. That's one of the bigger auditoriums. I forget what number that is. That's probably like number 6, maybe. So yeah, you could have put Empire, I think, in any one of those. Greg says he hopes they will play Rochelle in the theater one of these days. Greg says, ugh, I will only watch the original version. I have Harmy's despecialized editions. Greg, I'd love to get Harmy's despecialized editions, but it's really hard. Like, I've tried several times to figure out how to get them. And if you go on the website, it's like you could download them, but then I don't have a Blu-ray burner. I'm like, well, do I want to buy a Blu-ray burner just for this? Then I thought about buying them. Someone was selling them at a con, but then you don't know if the quality is going to be good. So it's kind of a headache. Backwin says, the special editions don't bother me too much since I've watched them so often. The only change I downright hate is the dance scene from Return of the Jedi. I gotta say, Return of the Jedi is my least favorite of the special edition movies because of that and because they took out the Ewok song at the end. The one change that I'm totally on board with, absolutely positively on board with, is restoring Jabba the Hutt. I love restoring Jabba the Hutt to A New Hope, because I remember as a kid seeing like things behind the scenes things, and I knew Jabba the Hutt was supposed to be in A New Hope, and I always as a kid was disappointed that scene wasn't in there. So when they restored that in the special edition, that's the one change in the special edition that I was all about. And I'm like, yes, this is great. I love this. And it didn't look perfect. In fact, the CGI for Jabba was pretty bad in the theatrical cut of the special edition. But then when it came to DVD, they improved it, they fixed it. And I think it looks great now. So that's the one change I wouldn't want to give up. If I can have everything back the way it was as a kid, but just keep Jabba, that would make me happy. Greg says, Ants is by far my favorite DreamWorks animated movie. I do like Ants. Ants is pretty good. James says, I agree. If Chris Evans was in Knives Out and Robert Downey Jr. was in Sherlock Holmes, then again, Robert Downey Jr. also starred in Doolittle. James says, I actually went traditional animated DreamWorks films, Joe. Okay. I'm confused. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm missing something. Backwind says, I would say Shrek, but I love How to Train Your Dragon. One of the few solid trilogies out there. Yeah, How to Train Your Dragon is fantastic. From beginning to end, all three of them. Anthony says, well, technically the last tweaks were done in 2011, although I believe Empire may not have had any tweaks after the 97 version. Even later than that, Anthony, because... Oh, actually, maybe that was 2011. Yeah, I guess you're right. Because the McClunky was the last thing added. Although we didn't see that until it hit Disney+. James says Captain Underpants is my favorite DreamWorks movie. I've never seen Captain Underpants. Gloop Trekker says Empire Strikes Back had Ian McDiarmid inserted for the 2004 DVD release, I believe. Yes, and Ian McDiarmid was in the movie. I seem to remember that. Ian McDiarmid wasn't added to the 97 special edition, was he? And that was weird, because I thought that was like one of the obvious changes. It was like, if you're going to make changes, why wouldn't you put Ian McDiarmid in as the Emperor in Episode 5? But I thought it was a weird change. And yeah, and Anthony says that's his favorite change too, Ian McDiarmid. Yeah, I think that's the one change everyone can get behind. I don't think anybody has a problem with them changing it to Ian McDiarmid in Empire Strikes Back. Connor says, what were your thoughts on the Star Wars holiday special? Oh, it's practically unwatchable. I've tried many times, but it's really tough. I do think it should be put as a special feature on the Blu-ray. Stick it, put it on Disney Plus. Stop trying to hide the thing. It's out there. We've all seen it. There's no hiding it at this point. We've all seen it. So just make it available at this point. But no, it's not good. It's hard to watch. James says, favorite traditional animated DreamWorks. You mean traditional animation? Well, there weren't many, were there? There was Prince of Egypt. What else was there? I think that was about it, right? They did Prince of Egypt. I don't think they did many more DreamWorks traditional animated, but I liked Prince of Egypt. That was good. James says, by the way, love your icon with Spider-Ham. Thank you, James. That was taken at Dragon Con last year. Dragon Con's been canceled this year. There's no Dragon Con this year. Now, don't get me wrong. I wasn't going to Dragon Con this year. I wasn't going to Dragon Con this year before coronavirus. Just, money. I wasn't going to make it to Dragon Con this year. So I feel bad that there's no Dragon Con this year. But from a selfish perspective, I feel happy I'm not missing Dragon Con this year. I know that's terrible, but yeah, I was sad that I wasn't going to go, and now it's like, well, at least I'm not going to have to sit and watch everyone posting their pictures and feel bad. But now, I wish it was happening. It's a shame that they have to miss a year. Chris says, do you have any more ranking videos come up? I'd like to see you rank trilogies, franchises, biopics. Send me your ideas, Chris. You got my phone number. Text me your ideas. I'll come up with something. Greg says, I will send you the despecial editions. Greg, I would appreciate that. That would be awesome. Thank you. You know what I would like to do? I would like to get the despecialized editions. If I was this savvy, if I was this tech savvy and could do it, I would like to get the despecialized editions and then just edit in the Jabba scene. So it's like, here's the one thing I love about the special editions and everything else from the original. That would be my personal, the Crazy Joe cut. Chris says, are the Ewok movies on Disney Plus? Sadly, they are not. They should be. They should be, but they are not. Backwin says, Joseph the King of Dreams was the other one. Yes, I never saw that one. Oh, Road del Diablo. Oh, yeah, Road del Diablo, Horsey, and Sinbad. I know my kids like Horsey, but I haven't seen any of those movies myself. Gloop Trekker says, I didn't mind adding Ian McDiarmid to Empire Strikes Back, but the dialogue change was confusing. Vader knew about Skywalker, as he stated early in the movie. Then he said, how can this be true? Interesting. I didn't even pick up on that dialogue, but yeah. Greg says, I was going to drive the car this year in the parade. Next year, Greg, next year. Next year. I don't know, maybe I got to go with you guys next year. Maybe I got to get in your car and not drive Santa. But no, I can't do that. I got to drive Santa. If I'm allowed, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's my buddy Craig's car, so I appreciate Craig's let me drive it 2 years now, and I enjoy doing it. So it's kind of fun, to get to drive Santa in a parade. That's amazing. Gloop Trekker says, unless Vader was trolling the Emperor. Lisa says, has anyone seen the new Burger King commercial singing about methane and cow farts? I'm a little traumatized. I have not seen this. No, I haven't. Anthony says the Ewok movies are not on Disney Plus, but they should be. They should be, damn it. Get them on there. Where's Gary been? Gary hasn't been here in a while, and we need the end of joke, the end of stream joke. He's not here to provide the end of stream joke. Anyway. Connor says, is it true that the specialized editions are on certain DVD releases? There was a DVD release that had the original cuts, but they came from a Laserdisc, and they were not great because they're pillar boxed. They're not anamorphic widescreen, but they're out there. They are out there. Chris Pike says, what are your thoughts on Harrison Ford doing another Indiana Jones film? And do you still think they'll bring back Shia LaBeouf to play Mutt? I kind of feel like they have to bring Shia LaBeouf back. I feel like they have to because it's his son. Like, you can't introduce his son and have him marry his son's mother and kind of set him up to be a major character and then just never mention him again. I know the character isn't well loved by the fans, but to me, from a narrative standpoint, it would be weird if he wasn't there. I think maybe the best they can do is get Shia LaBeouf to do a cameo. So he walks in, says a few words, and then says, sorry, I can't join you on this adventure. I got this other thing going. And then Indy goes off on his own. Maybe that is the compromise that will make everybody happy. Because I don't know, narratively it would feel very, very weird to me if you make a whole movie making a big deal out of his son, and then we never see or hear from the son again. So, I think maybe cameo is the way to go. I don't know. I'd actually like to see him bring back Short Round. I know that actor doesn't act anymore. Maybe you got to recast the part. But Indiana Jones is kind of at an age where he's too old to be the action star, right? He's 80. He's a little too old to be the action star. So maybe you have him be the brains, and you have another character who's the action star. And maybe if it was a grown-up version of Short Round, who's now also an archaeologist, maybe that would sit more well with the fans. And it's like, okay, well, Indy's going to be the guy who figures it all out. He's going to be the guy who, does the all the brain work. But the guy who gets into the action scraps maybe is an adult Short Round. Maybe that would work. I don't know. It'll be interesting, but I'm in. What I'd really like to see is a movie that takes place a couple years after Temple of Doom. Not Temple of Doom. Last Crusade. I'd like to see a movie that takes place just a couple of years after Last Crusade. Starring Nathan Fillion as Indiana Jones. Chronologically, Indiana Jones 4, and then that would make Kingdom of the Crystal Skull Indiana Jones 5 chronologically. But I'd like to see Nathan Fillion as Indiana Jones, and the age, if you look up Harrison Ford's age when he did Last Crusade, and Nathan Fillion's age now, it fits chronologically, he's the right age to play Indy at that stage in his life. And fill in the adventures between Last Crusade and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Like, for example, Indy went and fought in World War II. He fought in World War II. We never saw those adventures. Let's see the World War II adventures. But I think Nathan Fillion is the perfect guy to take over as Indiana Jones. Anyway, I need to get going. We got to do the podcast. It's podcasting time. Thanks for joining us. It's been a night. Yeah, I'm sorry I wasn't here last week. It was a rough week. I just couldn't do it. But I got a few videos coming up. I got a few that are already shot and will be coming out soon. And I appreciate you being here. And until next time, check out the podcast. New podcast comes out this Friday. The one we're about to record. We haven't recorded it yet, but new podcast about to happen. And then you'll hear it Friday. And if you're a member on Patreon, patreon.com/MegaPodTastic, like Geriatric Geek is one of our patrons, and Joey Baseball is one of our patrons. If you're one of our patrons, you'll be able to watch the video of what we're about to record tonight before I go to bed. It'll be up on Patreon tonight before I go to bed. Then the polished, finished podcast comes out on your podcatcher, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, whatever you listen to, it'll be there on Friday. All right, guys. Keep wearing those pajamas.